Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation. It is Monday night all over again, and we welcome you back each and every Monday night. Tonight, our special guest is W.C. Filmore, author of Gypsy Eyes, Gypsy Blood, Filmore's Double Dose of Urban Myths, Volume 1 and 2, and Dark Paradise of the Dead. Welcome to Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation, Mr. Filmore. Thank you for being here.
All right. Hello. Hello, everybody. How you doing?
Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation is sponsored by Eyeless Diamonds LLC, brought to you by Milton McCulloch, author of Love and Emancipation, L.D. Robinson, owner and operator of Ladero Press, and a Dante production. A Dante production presents the Jazz Divas on March 19th, 2022 at the Ormond Beach Performing Arts Center at 2:30 p.m. Tickets are $30 in advance, $35 at the door, and I will be your host for the evening. So please come out and enjoy jazz as we celebrate Women's Month and Jazz Appreciation, which is next month. These ladies are awesome. We have an upright bass, a flautist, a saxophonist, a drummer, and a piano. So they're just multi-talented. Please come out and join us. If you have a question for Mr. William Filmore, please leave it in the chat room, and this conversation is being recorded. So thank you, William, for being here. Please take a moment and tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I was born in Queens, New York, adopted, put up for adoption, and was brought up here in Daytona Beach, Florida, right here. I'm just I love entertainment, music, movies, television, and all that kind of comes through in some of my writing because it's kind of a reflection of everything that I am as far as with the imagination. You know, when you grow up in a foster home, you're kind of like your imagination is kind of your friend. It's more of a, you know, you have a connection with your imagination more than you do other people, because you don't have that brotherly, sisterly kind of love. You're kind of on your own because you got people coming in, people coming out. So you kind of like your imagination has to be your best friend. And thanks to people like Kenneth Walker and my parents, who the ones who adopted me, who made sure that I did a lot of reading, lot of reading, and that's where that's the fertile ground that's right here.
All right. So you're one of the very fortunate ones. A lot of people don't get to get adopted out of the system. So, you know, that's a blessing, right? Very good blessing.
I did a little research and found out that in New York, the city of New York, if your parent or whoever gave birth to you was under the age of 15, the state would automatically take you and yes, and farm you out somewhere.
I didn't know that. Oh.
Yeah, I just found this out like about 4 or 5 years ago.
Did you ever find your biological parents?
No. Me and my son have been doing our little
research
genealogy thing, and we're looking. But,
well, you know, some closed doors should remain closed.
Yeah.
It would be nice to know that. It would be nice.
It would be. You know, my curiosity has peaked a little bit, but
yeah,
I'm all right. I'm good.
We had another gentleman on, I don't remember his name, Mama Tony might remember him. He also wrote a book and he grew up in the system. About a year ago, we interviewed him and he had the same experience that, you know, writing was his way of thinking about other things except the place that where he was, right?
Right. My mom had a bookshelf in the middle of the living room, and I must have read every book from the top shelf to the bottom shelf.
Wow.
And and it was like a lot of religious stuff, but
doesn't matter.
You had the Hardy Boys and you know, stuff like that. So it was great. It was great. I can't complain.
We don't care what you read. long as you read,
Yeah.
and you enjoy it. So that,
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it.
I have a story of my son, and I've told it 10 million times, but I'm a reader, avid, books all around the house. He
Right.
never would read a book, and I could never understand that. And then I found the Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then
Ah,
yeah.
see?
Now,
See, that's how I started.
yeah,
My mom took me. This is when Zares. I'm dating myself now.
yeah, no,
You know,
yeah.
Zares used to have little book corner there, and
Yes,
my mom would say, you know, there would be comic books there, and she'd say, okay, you can get 2 comic books, okay. So that's kind of, I'm not going to say that's where it started, but that definitely
right,
got the gears
exactly,
to roll.
exactly,
And then in the back, you would read about people who, you know, the writers and how they wrote and where they came from. I was like, wow, their story is not too far from my own story.
right, exactly.
So if they can do it,
I can do
yeah, I
it,
can.
right? Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. So I want to just talk about your books for a minute. So I did finish volume 1 and 2. I did
Okay.
not have a copy of Gypsy Eyes, Gypsy Blood. I guess that was something you did a long time ago.
Yeah, no,
So,
that's gone.
so what inspired, because I think the interview I saw was way back with a guy named Pickney. I don't even remember. Remember
Yeah.
that? Yeah. And
Yeah.
so tell us,
Okay.
you know, I try to do my research before I get on.
Wow, you
So,
really
yeah.
did your I didn't think anybody could find that.
Yeah. So Gypsy Eyes, Gypsy Blood, tell us about how that came about.
I did a little work for a traveling carnival once.
Wow,
It was not a very good experience,
really?
but the people there were so just so I don't know. They called themselves gypsies instead of carnies.
Mm,
And I thought that was like really, really unique. And then they would tell me why they were gypsies and how they traveled around. And they went from, some of them went from carnival to carnival, you know, doing things with different carnival groups. And I stayed with the group for like, I don't know, maybe, I don't even think I made 2 months. I think we might have hit 4 different spots before I finally one night got me a bicycle and rode from Titusville back to Daytona.
wow.
Yeah, on a bike. That's how bad I wanted to get away because oh man, it was not a good experience.
Wow. Titusville, that's a on a
That's a
bicycle.
long, yeah.
That's a
Oh yeah.
long ride. Yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
so from that experience came Gypsy Eyes, Gypsy Blood.
Right, right.
Yeah.
It's a story about a carnival that sets up in a small southern town, which I think it's over near Tampa, and strange animal attacks happen, and the animal control officer of that town starts investigating. She finds out that somebody from the sideshow
Mm,
has has something to do with these um, these murders. So it's
mm,
kind of a mystery, kind of an adventure, and the 2 women in it. The one she's a an Olympic archeress, and they kind of team up together unexpectedly and kind of thwart the bad guy because the sideshow freak, he isn't the bad guy, it's somebody controlling him.
mm.
So I mean, you'd have to read it to really
I'd love to read it. I couldn't find it
yeah.
actually. So
Yeah, that
if
one
you got
I
a
want to
dusty
re-edit. I want to re-edit that whole book.
if you got a dusty copy around, I'll be glad, you know, I would love to.
Okay, all right, I'll send you one.
Yeah,
Matter
yeah,
of
yeah.
fact, I've got a cover if you'd like to see it.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. Okay. Max Fest. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I decided I Gypsy Eyes, Gypsy Blood just was not it.
Right. Okay.
And just to give the circus name was a little bit better.
Yeah, I like the cover. Um, that's exactly what I did as a child on the farm. Tony, what did you do? We can't hear you.
You did.
You said what?
Tony, Mama Tony said that she tells students to close their eyes to read, and they can travel and learn if they read. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Really.
that's what I used to say to my students. And when you read, after you read, close your eyes and imagine the place that you just read about. See yourself in that space.
The whole time I was at that carnival, though, I was writing the whole time. Just, you know, I had a little journal I would take with me, and I just kind of like would write things that I would hear, because they had some stories, and some of those stories end up in the book. So certain things play out from what I heard, some of the things I saw. So.
And that was 2016.
Yes, that came out in 16, and it was through I'm not going to tell who the publisher was.
It doesn't matter, yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to say that it was a what I would call a boutique press. Boutique presses, what they do is they say, hey, come to me if you want a book published, and I'll publish it for you. Of course, you got to pay for everything. Everything, and I mean everything. Okay, and then they pretty much take your book, and they also take most of your profits too.
Right. Exactly.
So you want to get something out there so bad that you're pretty much willing to give up a certain amount of control. But the good thing about that, though, I learned after working with that boutique press about what it takes to actually get a book done, get your cover, get it edited, get it together, get it on Amazon, and get it out there for people to sell and buy. So
right. So I mean, so even though it was a lesson financially, it was a learning lesson for you.
Right. Yes.
Right. In the long
Matter of
run,
fact, it was. I would have to say that was very pivotal in me deciding. You know what? I can do this myself.
Right. Exactly. So volumes 1 and 2. It really takes an expert in detail to write suspense, borderline horror books, right? Where did you get the idea of writing that kind of genre in the first place? Because was Gypsy Eyes or Max, whatever we're calling it now, Max, was that horrific? But did it have kind of an edge to it, or is that something?
Yeah, it's got. You know, you've got people that are. Yeah, it's got some murders and some mystery to it. But the Urban Mythos books, volume 1 and 2, come from tales that I hear in the streets, things that I hear about, things that I've read about, things that are like the second story, and the one that you liked it the most. I think it was the Safety Off, which is about the gun.
No, I liked them all. I mean, you know, I just didn't want you to kill off that one person. No, I enjoyed them all. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, now that story came from hearing a news story about one gun that was prevalent in several murders. So I just took it and twisted around where this one gun does all this damage in one night. So it travels from person to person and person. And then at the end, you finally hear a story about why this gun is like it is. So that's where those stories come from. They're almost like Tales from the Hood. Almost.
Tales from the Crypt. Tales from the
well, you know, they had Tales from the Crypt. Yeah. And then, you know, when they had the brothers do it, it was Tales from the Hood. Right. Right. So I went ahead and said, you know, there are a lot of stories around. You know, like I say, I have a journal and I just jot things down. I was living in D-Land at the time, so I didn't have a lot of friends over there. So I said, you know what? I'm going to just jot as many of these weird little tales that I hear, and I'm going to try and flesh them out. And that's where the money tree comes from. And that's where Safety Off comes from. And the one Haitian one where they on the boat ride. I hope you liked that one.
I did.
Okay. All right. And And then the one about the two girls that go to the pimp's funeral, that whole thing, yeah, that's where that comes from. That comes from our article when I went back to New York about this pimp that got buried in his car. Yes, he had this Lincoln Continental, and they made it into a casket, and he was buried in that car. Yeah,
and he paid a lot of money to have that.
And he paid, but he was, you know, he had the money.
He had it. He had the money, right?
Right. And I just came up with the name Gold Diggers because these two girls, I don't want to tell the whole story, but these two girls decide to take things into their own hands and say, hey, look, you know, because if a cousin of mine showed me the article up in New York about this pimp and all this money that was on this guy's, pinned on this guy's clothes and was going to be buried with him.
Exactly. Well, because I think the old adage is you can't take it with you. Well, I guess he's going to take his with him, right?
Right.
I can imagine that a lot of that didn't make it underground after it's all
I
over.
don't think so. I think the
grave diggers probably got
right.
After everybody was gone, somehow he came back up before.
Right.
You know, I don't know. Is that thing really sealed? I don't know about caskets. Are they really? I don't really know.
I think they are. I think they
yes,
are.
They are. They're sealed.
They're sealed.
My first job was the teenagers was working for a funeral home.
Ooh,
yes,
okay.
They are sealed.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So I guess he got buried with his money, you know?
Yeah, he did.
So let me ask you this, and maybe I'm just, you know, one of those headsy person, but when I was reading volume 1 and 2, I kept thinking that there was metaphors for the things that you decided to do, right? Because I thought about the gun as being a lie.
Yeah.
Right? And how lie can, right? And it just
and it spreads, and yes.
Right.
Yeah. Plus it's also my take on gun violence.
Right. And your take on gun violence.
Because I'm you know, this gun, if you notice, it travels from a man to a woman to kids, and all of them end up doing something terribly wrong with it.
Right.
So you're right. And you're right. A lie can get out of control just like that.
Just like that. And when I read it at the end, I thought, wonder what, you know, that was probably me just heady thinking, but I thought, well, that's just like a good lie.
Yeah.
You know, it can destroy so many lives, right?
Yeah, you're right.
And then at the end, when you find out what the truth is, like about where the gun came from, right? It's stunning to a lot of people. Yeah.
And when he's telling the other detective that, he doesn't want to believe it.
He doesn't want to believe it.
Yeah, he doesn't want. He just doesn't want to believe it.
He doesn't want to believe it.
As what we see today in society.
Exactly.
Nobody wants the truth. They only want their little slice of lie, I guess.
Right.
The money tree one is
I couldn't find a metaphor for that really, but I thought about maybe what that would mean. But tell me what was your
to me it was more like we don't watch a lot of what our kids do. You know, we kind of throw them out there and we have them doing, we don't know what they're doing. So here this girl has found a tree that produces money, and she's going to school and she's just giving it away. And she's giving it to her parents, and they don't know where this money's coming from. They're just thinking, oh, this is great. Okay, my husband just left me an envelope with some money in it. Okay, I'm not going to bother him about it. I'm just going to take this money and go spend it. And so that's what she does. She just keeps giving the money, and nobody cares. Nobody really wants to know where the money comes from.
Right.
They just want the money. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that was a really good. That was just a really good story, because it was so encompassing. The family, the community, the school, teachers. I mean, everybody was kind of in on the greed.
Right. Yes.
Not necessarily where it came from.
Right.
How it came, or whether it was a blessing from the universe. That's so unimportant, right? Yeah.
And then then the root of all evil is money. So what happens? You have people that find out, oh, wait a minute, these people are having a lot of money. I want some of it too. That's
Right.
when you have the neighborhood gangs get involved and things go awry, as they always do when there's a lot of money involved.
Yeah, the
So,
love of money. Money itself is not evil, but the love of
the
money
love of right,
is
right,
what
right.
makes it
Especially if you think you can get it easy.
easy. Right.
Right. And that's what Bo, the antagonist in that story, that's what he thinks. He thinks, okay,
I
this
can
is
get
just
it.
some family in the hood. I'm the king guy. I rule this neighborhood. I'll just take it from him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those two volumes were very well written.
Thank you.
I
Thank you
enjoy
very
them
much.
both. And they're not, and for our audience, they're not, it's not War and Peace.
No.
You know, I think they're both
No.
about 125 pages, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But this-
tried to make those, I want to make those volumes short. Those are kind of like an introduction to my writing.
Mhm.
So I want to make those short, and I want people to be able to like, okay, I can go through 1 or 2 volumes. If I take this on a plane ride, I can read through this on a 2-hour jaunt to Atlanta, or you know,
Yeah.
I'm driving with the family down to Miami. Okay, I'll just pull out this volume and read through this. So that's why I wanted to have not a really quick read, but
Yeah, but
just
Mr.
something.
Filmore, it takes a lot of coordination to put a whole story together.
Oh yeah,
2 stories and 125 pages.
I'm
Now, the way
working
I
on
write,
volume
we're
3
just
now.
getting started at 125
Yeah.
pages.
Yeah.
And you have taken a complete story, woven a story that is incredible, and did it in 125 pages. Now, listen, a whole lot of people can't do. I can't do that. You know, the first 3 chapters
Well,
are
thank
125.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, so I take my hat off to you. Very, very well done. So the one I couldn't get through just cause I can't tell you the amount of books that we all get, Tony,
Right,
right.
right.
And so I could not get through Dark Paradise of the Dead.
Right.
Please give us a brief description. We talked about it, but
Right.
tell the audience about Dark Paradise.
Okay, can I read the blurb from the back of the book?
This is you know.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, please do.
All right. Coast Guard, Lieutenant Coast Guard Janelle Bonet family escaped the island nation of Haiti for the freedom of the United States. She promised herself after a childhood trauma never to return. But after some unforeseen events, she finds herself trapped in the last place she thought she'd ever be. Maura Fuqua believed all her grandfather's crazy stories about her family being pirates and treasure seekers, and about the treasure that lay hidden in Haiti. After being introduced to a mysterious figure who links her family heirloom to a map she has, she goes to Haiti to find the lost silver. Both Janelle and Maura find themselves way over their heads as one tries to make her way off the island and the other searches for the secrets that lie with the treasure. With ruthless urban gangs, ruthless mercenaries, a voodoo priestess, and zombies, which woman will reach her goal without becoming a victim of paradise?
Yeah, so let me ask you this. Writing about Haiti is no easy task. Where did you learn about Haiti? Because you know, people will take you to task for writing about a country or a place and you're not familiar with it.
Right. I did. I must admit, I did a lot of research.
Okay.
I did a lot of research on what they eat, how they live, and I had some up in Queens, New York. Whenever I go back to visit, I have cousins up there who have friends who are from Haiti, and I would just listen to some of the stuff that they would talk about. That's where my stories always come from, listening to somebody and going, wow, that is so interesting. What is, you know, and then I start asking a lot of questions. I know they're like, man, what are you, some kind of lawyer or something? But I want to know, you know, and you know, they talk about the rituals. And then I think I told you that Zora Neale Hurston took a trip to Haiti and wrote a book about her experience there. And when I was in, I worked in the port in Mobile, Alabama. I worked at the port there, and I found this little library, or not a library, but a bookstore. And this guy had a copy of this book, and he would not let me check it out. So I had to sit there night after night and write these notes that, you know, I'd go to work and do my thing, and then I would go to the shop before he closed. And he didn't have a copy machine. This was like an old, rundown bookstore. So I
love those kind of bookstores.
It was very creepy too. A very creepy bookstore.
Dusty.
Yeah. And I just wrote out this volume. But I don't even think it's still in print anymore. But it was Zora Neale Hurston, and I can't think of the title of it, but it was about her going to Haiti, and she wrote down the rituals. So I wrote down all the rituals they had in there. She had a picture of zombies, and she told about what, you know, the kind of zombies that we're talking about are people who are they're put to task. They're basically beasts of burden. They're not like these ones on TV where they're looking for brains to eat brains and all that stuff. That's Hollywood's take on it. If you go to Haiti and you travel the streets there, somebody will say, "Hey, there's zombies that work over in this field over there." And you'll see like somebody's daughter or somebody's husband who's passed away, but because he's been brought back from the dead, he's out there working in the field. That's what they do back then. That's what they do for zombies back then. This is the criteria of that book was 1930s.
Okay.
Yeah, the 1930s. I want to say the 30s and early 40s. So it was before, I think it was before World War II. So I use a lot of like I said, I use a lot of the rituals and the way they conducted themselves in my book. That's the way I just thought it'd be fresh, a little different than zombies running around talking about they want people's brains. No, if they're controlled, they're even more dangerous, you know, because at least that's the way I see it. So.
No, I love the fact that you decided not to do something right. I mean, a lot of what you wrote in the volumes was kind of around this area, right?
Right.
You could see where you were thinking, but to take it to another level and take it to another country, that's a whole nother, that takes dedication, right? So hats off to you for Dark Paradise of the Dead.
It took me about a year and a half to completely write it down, but if I could turn the camera around, you can see my desk. It is a mess because I have so many notes, so many books, so many magazines, just things that I go back to and go, oh man, I gotta make sure and have this in there. I gotta put this scene here, and I've got to make sure and have this ritual here. I tried to follow a lot of her rituals.
Right.
To
make it ethnic and real.
Right. I wanted as much authenticity as I could put in it, because I don't think I've looked at a lot of movies about voodoo and stuff like that, and I didn't see what I read from Zora Neale Hurston. From what I read in her book, I haven't seen that. So hopefully when people read this book, they'll get a little bit of a sense of the real. Right. So.
And it's a religion. I mean, some of that stuff they consider religion.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So.
Yes. They don't make a move without it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And I tried to make I don't want to say he's the bad guy. He just going about getting what he wants without thinking about anybody else. And so his thing is to live forever. And you'll see what he does in order to, the treasure for him is not about the money. That's his least of his worries. He's not worried about it. Now, the young lady whose family has been to the island and has a history with the island, she's thinking about the money. She just wants the money. Yeah. And then the lieutenant whose family used to stay there, she wants nothing to do with Haiti. And she ends up getting trapped there.
And
Right. And I put her through the paces. But in the end, she gains a respect for that country that she didn't have when she was little and she left. So I tried to make it you want your hero to have kind of an arc, and I tried to have her be scared of Haiti when she was little because she knew about the zombies and the gangs and voodoo and all that stuff. But by the end, she doesn't fear all that because she's gone through it. And now she has a different respect for all that and the people that live there. Because, she's been living in America for a little while. So she's, Americanized a little bit. So
did you touch at all on the difference between the cultures, which really is just a fence between Haiti and the Dominican Republic, or you didn't touch that? Too political?
No, not really. I did touch on some of the laws, the maritime laws, like if you're from Haiti and you come to America, you can be deported right off the bat. Okay, they will send your behind right back to Haiti. But if you're Cuban and you come to America, you're greeted with open arms and you're basically made into a citizen right off the bat.
Wow.
So I wanted to touch on a little bit of that.
I didn't know that. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I tried to. One thing about these larger volumes or novels is I try to put a little bit of information and a little bit of things that I'm not going to say people don't know, but it's things they should know.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we should know. I mean, every time there are a group of patients who come, they seem to get sent back or put in camps.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, now that you're saying that, I'm thinking, so that's what that's about, right?
Yeah.
So political. So political.
That's written in the laws.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is there a part 2 to Dark Paradise of the Dead?
I was thinking about it, but I don't know yet. I don't know. There is a for the Maxwell Traveling Gypsy Circus, there is a prequel that I'm working on now for that.
That leads up to this one.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Matter of fact, I got a forward in this one that I'm gonna take out and use it as the last chapter in that prequel.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. And I just came up with that the other night. I was like, oh man.
Yeah, I could do that, right?
Yeah. That's the good thing about publishing your own work.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean. Amazon has done a great job of letting you be the publisher, the writer, the book cover maker, all that. But they want you to be as professional as possible. They don't just take, you know what I mean? They don't just, you don't want to just grab anything off the shelf. Something has to catch your eye. It has to be as professional as possible. So.
But how do they help you? Do they help you market it in any way?
That's the big thing. They help you market.
They do?
Yes. They have ads that they help you create so that you can send out. Matter of fact, to all your viewers, if you go to Amazon for Filmore's the Mythos Volume 2, it's free on Kindle. If you want to download it, it's going to be free tonight and tomorrow. So those 2 days, yes, you can download it for free if you have a Kindle or whatever other device you might have. And you go to Amazon and that book is free.
Do they negotiate that with you, or do they just do it?
They have like an ad funnel, and then you go in and you say they'll let you upon the first time your book comes out, you have 3 months to determine if you want to have a countdown deal, which is something where they take it and they mark it down. they'll take it from the original price and they'll mark it down to like 99 cents or 50 cents or something like that. Or you can do a free countdown deal, and that's what I did. I did a free deal where I knew I was gonna be talking to you, so I said, okay, I'll let her audience know at this particular time that this volume is free for these next couple of days. So
okay, we're gonna say that. We're gonna say that again at the end. So
okay, that's for you and your listeners,
nice,
and your viewers, just especially for you guys.
Nice, because you know it's a good volume. So
yeah, and it's something that'll hopefully you read that one and then you want to go back and get volume 1.
Right. So we're going to repeat that again, audience, at the end, so that you'll know how to go get it. Right. And it's well worth it, and especially since it's free. That's even it.
Yeah.
That makes it very well worth it.
Okay.
And so, William, you work full time, right?
Yes.
And so, when do you write? You know, everybody has a process.
Right.
I don't know what Janice's process is, and I'm sure she doesn't know what mine is, but I write from 10 at night to 1 in the morning.
Right.
That's my process, right? And so, do you have a process? Do you automatically write in chapters? Do you write in scenes? Do you write the whole book in your head and then do it? How does your process work?
I write longhand.
No.
As I do on a pencil and paper, and I take it with me to work, and in between working, I'm a warehouse supervisor, so I have a little bit of downtime, and I'll write like a scene or a paragraph, or I'll map out a scene. But when I come home like about 5 o'clock. By 6 o'clock or 6:30, I sit down and I try to get as much done as I can. I don't even start typing until I get my first 12 chapters. I have to, it's just, I don't know why, but I have to write it down. I have to get my first 12 chapters done, and then I'll go back and I'll start typing. That's when I get my internal editing and making sure the scenes move in a certain direction and stuff like that. And then just over time, it just accumulates into a book.
We do have a friend, Keith Kareem Williams. I think he still does a lot of longhand first.
Yeah.
I think he does, doesn't he, Mama Tony?
It's a way for me. And plus, I can write the margins. I can cross things out. I can circle something and say, oh, yeah, this is important. I use Scrivener, which is a writing program that a lot of writers use. And it's very useful, and I can almost do stuff like that on the Scrivener, but it's just, I'm old school. I just like writing by hand. It just feels like it flows better when I'm trying to make, I'm trying to get it all down, and then I can move things around the way I want to. Right.
Yeah. So do you write other than for yourself? Have you written for magazines or newspapers or any other genre?
I worked at Hawaiian Tropic, and I had to write like one of those things about like forklift driving and how we did our process of shipping things out. And the lady was so impressed. She said, "Man, you should be writing books. She said, this actually had some, I actually was engaged with how you wrote it." I was like, well, I was just trying not to be boring. That's all I was trying to do.
Make it easy on yourself. Yeah. It's all written down, right?
Yeah. Because I use examples. I like to talk about certain people and what they do. That's if you like in the gun. If you notice the gun story, everybody had their own little story going.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what I did. But also, like I said, Kenneth Walker and I, we did comic book stories and stories for the school newspaper. Me and a friend had a comic book that we did, that got accepted back then. That's about it right there.
So if, you know, in your upcoming book, because I know there is one besides the one for Gypsy Blood, Gypsy.
Right.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
Gypsy, which one now?
Now tell us about the new book.
Oh, the new one? Oh, wow. The new one, I want to set it in Europe.
Okay.
And it's going to take the head guy from the circus, and it's gonna kind of go back and show how there's one young lady in the book that I don't want to give it away, but she does something. She has a curse, and it's going to show you how this curse came about and how it all got started and stuff, and how they got to meet each other and they fell in love and all this other stuff. But her curse keeps them from being a couple.
And so what part of Europe are you gonna?
I'm
You're not sure
thinking
yet?
I'm thinking of I want to go like northern Paris.
Mm.
Yeah. So like up in the hills and stuff like that. So yeah, that's it's gonna be there'll be castles in this one, old, you know, the ruins of a castle. You'll have an archaeologist, and then you'll have these gypsies, and yeah, and the clash between
Bring
the
'em back.
archaeologists. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so in volume 1 and 2, I could see that being an audio book. Have you ever thought about that?
Yes, I have.
And
would
reading
love-
it yourself?
I don't know about reading it myself. I don't know. I don't know. I would give it a try.
As
I
I
would have
was
to see
reading
how
the
it-
gun story, I thought, you know, and I'm not being mean against men, but they like to listen more than they like to read, right? And that's okay,
Right.
right? It's okay. So I thought that particular volume 1 would be so nice to have on audio,
Okay.
right? Even if you thought about doing it on YouTube, because YouTube is free, right?
Right.
So you read the first story about the gun and then see what kind of reaction you get.
Reaction, yeah.
Right, you know, so especially
I'm working
for,
on volume 3. It's taking me a little while. So
and that could be a, you know, just a precursor to
right.
2 and 3. Just to put a little snippet, because you know, you're amazed at the people who read what you put out there on YouTube.
Right.
Once it's out there, it goes everywhere.
Right.
And so I get all kind of email about, well, you know, I saw your show. It's like, well, where are you, right? But it's, you know, and you have to remember, this is worldwide. This
Right.
goes
Right.
everywhere. So anyway,
Yeah, I sent out about 30 invitations about 2 hours before you came on.
oh, it does. You know what? It goes up on Facebook and then it'll go on YouTube. So everybody who missed it will see it again. So it really, yeah. And so if you, if we could help you in any way, because we have a huge tribe of people who've been in the business a long time. What, if there was something that you needed, what would it be?
Ooh, probably just more, I would have to say more editing and marketing, especially the marketing part, the being out there to sell to the people, to give to the masses and whatnot. That would probably be the biggest thing. Like your F.R.E.S.H.
Book
Festival.
Mm-hmm.
Right. When I saw your thing and I didn't get in there quite, that's why I sent you a notice and tried to find out when. Yeah, if I could do more of that, that would probably be great. Because going out and meeting people face to face, and then what's great about these books is somebody can grab a book, sit down for about 20 minutes and read one of those stories and turn around and go, oh, wow.
Right.
You know? Yeah. So.
And the other thing about F.R.E.S.H. is that it's the people you meet. just the people that you touch, right? Who can get you invited to other stuff, not just Fresh, but other interviews, other conferences, and
because I had no idea about this Zoom thing until you said, well, listen, we'd like you for the Fresh thing, but I have a Zoom conversation thing that you'd probably be interested in. I was like, oh wow, okay, that's even better.
Right. I mean, so hopefully you'll be there in 2023, but there's all kind of other avenues that you can do to promote your book. And this is just one more way. Who did the cover designs on your book? Did you do that?
Okay, I'm a college dropout. I took commercial arts and advertising. Okay. So I kind of know about fonts and cover design and images and how you kind of lock them together. So
and you can do that. You can do that through Amazon, or is that another product?
No, that I use Canva. It's called Canva.
Oh, Canva.
Yeah, and they kind of like they'll. What I'll do is I use a cover designer. It's called Word to Kindle, and it's Word to, as in the two, Kindle. And they do my interior of my books. They do the formatting for the interior of my books. They do the cover designs, but I lay out the images that I want. I tell them what I want. I tell them if I don't like it. I find all my own images, and then they'll put everything together for me and make it as professional as possible.
Would you say, and you don't need to tell me what it costs. Would you say that it's cost efficient to go with Amazon?
Yes.
And do they give you a certain amount of books to sell other than on Amazon?
What they do is what they do is they have author copies, and then they discount those copies to you, and you get your own books, and then you take those books. Like whenever I go somewhere, when we go out of town to Atlanta, or if I go down to Miami, I'll take a bunch of my books with me, and I'll set them up outside of my car or in front of my friend's apartment, and I'll sell them.
Now, who does the printing?
Amazon does. Amazon KDP. It's called KDP. Kindle Direct Publishing is what it's called. So, and they do all the printing for you, and it's all print on demand. So you don't have to have a bunch of copies sitting around somewhere. Mostly they deal with ebooks, but they also deal with print books. And if you get their print books, then you can go ahead and you can say, okay, I want to take my ebook and I want to make my ebook into a print book. And then they'll show you how to do that. And then you say, well, I want 20 copies or 10 copies for myself. And then they'll discount it. And then they'll send you those copies. They're going to send you a copy anyway, so that you can check it out and make sure the formatting, the cover design, and everything is where you want it to be. Because that's how I caught a lot of mistakes. After I got my copies and I got them back, I went, oh no, this isn't exactly what I wanted. And then you just send it right back to them. That's a good thing about publishing on Amazon. If there's something in it that you don't like, or things aren't up to snuff the way you want them, you can always pull that book off, make your changes, and then put it back on.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a process that I didn't know too much about. So thank you so much for sharing that. A lot of people probably will look at that as an avenue to get their book done. So tell me, is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
I would have to say that it takes time. That's all I can say. Nobody jumped out the womb running. Okay?
Right.
Nobody. Everybody had to crawl. Everybody had to goo goo gaga. It takes time. I've seen people, I'm gonna do this, and there's also a lot of charlatans out there that will tell you, write a book in a week. Okay, if you can write a book in a week, you're a bad dude. Okay, I'm sorry. I can write. I don't write fast. I know people who write fast, but to write a book, a 300 or 400-page book in a week, it must not be that good. Okay, but there are people out there that will tell you,
Right.
oh, you can write a book in a week and you can do this. No, not exactly. Nah.
No, not exactly. Not at all.
Not if you want something that's good.
So would that be your pearl of wisdom, that it takes more than you think, or do you have a pearl of wisdom for us?
My pearl of wisdom is every ideal is like a seed, and you have to water it. And you don't, when you're watering something, you don't really see it growing until it pops up through the dirt. You don't know what's happening. You don't dig it up and go look at the seed and go, oh, okay, well, it's still a seed. Well, of course it's still a seed, because you got to let it grow. You have to nurture something in order to see the fruits of it.
Oh, right.
And even though I've got to, like, some of these I have to go back in and re-edit, sooner or later, I'm going to have my batch of books. It's going to
listen, there were
minute.
mistakes in War and Peace. I have it, and I can show it to you. You know what I mean?
I heard that. Yeah.
So it's not, I mean, you don't want them to be so obvious.
Right.
But I don't know too many books that don't have at least 1 or 2 mistakes. I just
right.
And you know, from the Grapes of Wrath to War and Peace to, you know, Don Quixote.
Yeah.
They all, you know, and those are the
I was just reading I think it was a Stephen King one, and it had a typographical error. And I'm like, you know, when you after you write a little while and then you pick up somebody's book, don't you notice you can pick out all the little editing spots and stuff? And you go, hey, man, that's wrong. Hey,
they published it like
he got published and it's wrong. He sold a million copies.
You got the nerve to get kind of snobby, like what? Yeah. For we do.
But yeah, you just keep watering, just keep working on it, keep at it, and you'll be surprised at what you come out with. Especially plotting. Plotting to me is the biggest thing. The plot has to be engaging. It has to have cliffhangers.
Yes.
And it has to have an arc. So if you don't have those 2 things, then you're kind of like, you're just kind of throwing words out there, because you got to give people spots where the intensity goes up, and then you got to bring them down a little bit. Right. And then it's got to go back up, and then it's got to go back down. Yeah, if you do that, oh man, you'll have them every time.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Filmore before we go? Mama Tony, Janice? No?
I have a question, but I really enjoyed the conversation, and I cannot wait to read some of his books. So
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to get through Dark Paradise of the Dead. I'm going to take a couple of beach days next week. Hopefully this cold weather will go away. Yeah, and I will take it with me. And so give us the opportunity that we have on Amazon again before we go.
Okay, it's wcfilmore.com. If you go to that, my website will take you right to the Amazon sales page for my books.
Okay, you got that, everybody? And thank you so much.
Or I'll tell you what, I'll show you this. Hold on.
Go ahead. Oh, yeah, right. There you go. It'll be right there for everybody to see. Sinister Stories of Gritty Urban Fiction and Fantasy. Very well done, Mr. Filmore. Very well done. Right. And it's not really my genre that I would normally read, but wow, yours either, Mama. But yeah, I was truly engaged. So thank you.
Okay, well that's good, because that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be somebody who normally doesn't read this stuff. Young lady in D-Land, she reads all romance. But I said, look, I wrote this story, and I see you reading a lot. I just want to know, what do you think of? And that was the Gypsy Eyes, Gypsy Blood one. Wow. And she read it and she said, wow, I'm not really into this kind of stuff, but you put together a pretty good story.
You weave a good tale, I'll tell you.
You
know,
cool.
it is what it is. If it's good, it's good.
Hey,
It's good, it's good. All right, everybody. Go ahead.
Okay, no, that's it.
Thank you.
I just want to thank everybody.
Yeah, thank you for being here, Mr. Filmore, and Mr. Walker, Mama Tony, Janice, of course. Love you guys. And thank you for being on Zoom and on a fresh conversation. Thank you and good night.
Okay.
Good night.
Bye-bye.